application for crafting and sewing, but we're going to talk about what means a lot to you. Because how many here love to quilt? PC. PC, yeah, I know. You have a lot of UFOs at home, right? We've got a machine that works on that too. But you enjoy that. My wife's a good quilter. She loves doing that. How about applique, automatic applique, with your embroidery machine? Anybody do that? That's fun. So let's go over some highlights of this wonderful machine. It's a brand new machine. As I mentioned, you can draw your seam allowance, but what happens when you do a quilt piece? It first draws the 1/4 inch line, and you can set for different seam allowances, but then it goes back and cuts it a 1/4 inch on the outside of the line. So what you're doing, instead of following the edge with a 1/4 inch foot, you're just stitching on the line. Not a lot easier to do, isn't it? And we'll actually show you an example of that. Some of the highlights of this here is that it does have different type of blades. And this model right here is exclusively made for you sewers that know how to sew, not just the ones that know how to glue and cut and paste. No, that's the crafters. You're an elite group, right? Yes, there you go. And so what this has, it has several different types of blades. One includes a deep cut blade that will cut through even the board that you use for matting, like in picture frames. That's heavy stuff. It'll cut through that. It'll cut through leathers and vinyls. Then it also comes with a pen set, and one of them, it has the 2 different erasable pens, the air and the water soluble, which that's what you use for the seam allowance, and then other colors that you can actually draw on fabric. But the 3 basic features, you've got direct cut. Direct cut will take an image, let's say on that quilt, you want to scan it, and it will cut that image right out from that fabric. But scan to cut data would take that image, save it, and I can proceed to cut it from all different fabrics. So you're actually making a template. So that's what you would use for, well, a lot of these, I love these samples here, all these appliques, that's what you use. Don't you love having to cut all those shapes out? Yeah, right. So this is going to save you so much time and make it much more fun. For those who have a Brother machine, this looks very familiar, doesn't it? The whole product, see, this is manufactured by Brother. It's not made for Brother. So they have insight in our industry. They know that you want something that's so easy to use that doesn't take a computer science degree to operate. And so this whole product is so easy. But cutting fabric, I mentioned that other cutters really are not doing well at fabric because you have to stabilize it so it's sturdy enough. But that's okay with applique. But when you're piecing, you want to have that stabilized fabric. With this, you simply use spray starch, and it will cut the fabric beautifully. And it will work for those people that can't sew. But there's some neat things you can do with some of the different papers out there, the different heavy paper, metallic paper, vinyls. I was in Michael's buying some of that different material just to test it out. And a person was there buying big letters, and they didn't have the certain letter that she had. And I thought to myself, how much would she pay? Because that's what people are buying. They're buying things that are already cut out, where you can cut it out. But quilting, that's a big thing. And so it has some built-in programs that you choose the block, and then you tell it the size block. And so all the sizes are made proportionate to that. Same with applique. And so step 1, you choose the block, and then you load the fabric and you scan the fabric. So I see on the background, and I'm going to show you a demonstration, but you see on the background the 2 colors of fabric. The mat that comes standard is 12 by 12, but you can actually get a 12 by 24, so you get several different types of fabric on there. And then once you load the fabric, you position it on the color, you put in the pen holder, and there's these little cassettes I'll show you where you put that in, and it proceeds and draws all the shapes. And then it goes back and cuts it out, and it even cuts the dog ears, so that everything, when you piece them together, works beautifully. Number 5, you stitch it out, but then I realized I don't like piecing. In fact, I really stink at it. I try to find a point that matches. There's not one corner that matches. I even missed the color, so I wrote red there, so you can see. And it was really bad is that my daughter reminded me that my wife loves the quilts. much better than you. So number 6 is you ask your wife to sew. And number 7, you thank her, because she is wonderful. But she actually does enjoy it. In fact, she was humming when she was sewing, because the first 20 minutes of peace she had all week, she said. But there's hers, there's mine. I left mine there because you can see the lines in there. It's really bad. But you got to enjoy it. But what I enjoy applique. I've always enjoyed applique. And what I like about applique is you can get a whole different dimension with different fabric. You don't have to have so much thread. Like some of the embroidery designs are too heavy and you can't even wear them. But with applique, you can offer a whole other experience with embroidery. So I kept thinking, how can I use this? Because we were shown this product about 2 months before convention. We were shown a PowerPoint on it. And I thought, what if we could take it and use it in our automatic applique? And so I had an idea about taking applique and simply taking the cut line. Because now, you know, for those who've done automatic applique, and this is for any brand of machine, there's the same procedure. Who has not done automatic applique on the machine? Okay, well, here's how you do it. You basically, it has a placement line. So if I wanted to applique this heart, I first stitch this, and that's where I know where to put my fabric down. And then it would go back and do either another line or several lines, so that then my goal is to cut as close as I can to that line without cutting it into it or without leaving any of the threads. And that's not easy. And then it goes back and does a satin stitch. And that's where all these are the same way in some way or another. And so with this, what I did is I thought, what if I was to take that placement line and stitch it with black thread 3 or 4 times? And then scan it, because this is the exact size of my fabric. And so I tried, I scanned it, and it cut out a perfect piece that fit perfectly in there. So no longer do you have to cut your appliques. I want to pass this around and show you some other examples. So, and again, that's not specific to one brand, that's for all. But when I described this in another meeting that we had at the convention, after I tried it and said it worked, we were in a meeting with, they had several of the engineers of the Brother Quattro. And one of them engineered the feature called Applique Creator. And if you have had some of the Brother machines, Applique Creator is a wonderful feature that will take any design and put an outline of an applique around it. So you can do patches, you can do some wonderful things. So I had this idea of using that. But when we were in that meeting, the engineer of that feature was there. And they come up with an idea that they're going to work on bringing a feature to the Quattro where it will automatically output and cut data. So you don't even have to scan it. There's all kinds of wonderful things we can do with this. But for those who have, how many here have computer software? So when you have computer software, you can print a template, right? So here's an applique using this vinyl, where I just simply print the template and scan it, and I have the perfect cut like that. And then what about designs? Has anybody ever stitched out Anita Good design? Okay, Anita Good designs. Okay, well here's one of theirs, but I didn't have to cut it. I did the same thing. And talking to Steve Wilson, he's going to start including a file called SVG, Sizable Vector Graphic. And when this machine comes out, the scanner, they're going to have an update, a free update that's going to read that file. So you won't even have to scan it. There's so many things. We'll start this in the middle and we're going to go back and forth. There's so much potential for this product. But I'm going to start off by showing you Applique Creator, and then I'll go ahead and show you the scan and cut. So that little sample that's going around here, that has the heart with the daisy duck, I'll show you how I made that. Because I love this feature called Applique Creator. Now this is available on the Quattro 3, as well as some of the other Brother models. So I'm going to choose a heart in a straight stitch. Now I go to sewing, and this icon right here, this badge, that's Applique Creator. And what that will do is it'll take any design and now do an applique around it. So what you have here, underneath that satin stitch, is a placement line, a cut line, a satin stitch. So that's how I did that heart. And then what I want to do is I want to go back and just delete the first straight stitch. I don't need that. I just use that as a reference. Now I want to add the rest of the images. I'll go to my Disney designs because I can. And let's go here to, there's Daisy. Now, if your machine can't allow you to edit that easy, it's time to buy a new machine. This is so easy. Look how nice it is. I don't have an arrow around it. I just touch it with my finger. And then let's go ahead and add, I'll choose one of my many fonts, and it has so many built in, including some really tiny ones. And you know, tiny fonts are very difficult to stitch out, and these stitch out beautifully. They have them on this machine as well as their 10. So let's take this here, and instead of typing out happy birthday, I'll just show you the letter H, so you can see the idea. Okay? So that's Applique Creator, and that's how I made that image. So now let's go ahead and show you the scan and cut in the operation. And I'm going to bring in an image that I already have stitched, or the process of Applique Creator. Is anybody here afraid of clowns? I know Rob is. You're afraid of yourself. So right here, that has an applique around the design. And so let's go back, and I simply want to go to sewing, and I want to go to that straight stitch, so that way you can see what I scanned. So there is my, so I'm now stitching the outline. Because what I want to make is this, which is the clown with the applique, and the patch, in this case the patch, which is great because you would not have, if it's on a child's shirt, you're not going to feel the thread, but also the blanket. But this is what I'm going to be making. But this same procedure applies to any applique. So think of the last applique you did, the last thing you did good, or these, some of you may be in this class with all these quilt applique. Anything you've done, you've started with a straight line like this, right? Okay. So now I did that on a plain piece of fabric. You can also do it on stabilizer. And one of the mats that comes with this scan and cut is a scanning mat. And so I simply position that on here. And this is the exact size I want to cut out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to position this in the scanner. Okay? And so now, let's go ahead and press scan. And I want to scan to cut data. So that's going to scan this image and save it for use. Press start. So far, pretty easy, right? And it automatically knows the end of the mat, senses it, and it'll bring it back in. We hope. Nice try. So now, what I want to do So as it's recognizing this, it's going to bring this up and allow me to crop down to the design. What you can't see here is I still see the fabric, and I want to identify just the outline. And so what I can do here is bring in this this icon allows me to bring the field down to a smaller level. There we go. And you'll see when it identifies it, it actually, the outline gets darker. See how that got darker? Now that identified it. The letter B, applique, that was around there. Obviously there's an inside cut and an outside cut. And here it is right here on that vinyl. So what I did is I brought those lines down so it was in the inside, so it identified the inside. And then I did it again and identified the outside, and they merged together. So that's how it cut the letter B all in one time. So once I've done that, then I save it. And so what I'm going to do here is, this is my standard mat that has a tacky surface right here. And so we'll make ourselves a little room because we're short on space here. And I'm going to put two of these clowns on there just as an example so you can see it, but I'm going to cut from this fabric right here. And they gave you all kinds of tools. This one's normally optional. It costs $1 million, but today's tech party, so I'm including it. It's such a deal. So we're going to take this here, and you just want to have it so it's flat, so we can scan it and read it. And see, this is really where the magic happens, because there are all kinds of cutters out there, but they don't do this. What I want to do first, I'm going to load my Mac, and I'm going to bring a pattern in because I saved that pattern. And I could have saved it to the USB, but I saved it to the machine. And I've got like 20,000 clowns in there. So now that I have it in there, I can scan. And this is how, when I did the quilt, how I knew where to place all the shapes. Because I'm going to see exactly where the fabric is. And so I can put my shapes exactly on the fabric where I want to cut it. And my intention on this was to have a field of these clown appliques. And if I can add more of them, I can actually take this here and I can position this here. I better get my stylus again and put it back in. And if you see right there, you see the line. And I can position that right over that clown. And I can zoom in and make sure it's right where I want. And then I can add another one. So imagine spending a little time setting up a template where you can embroider something and cut it. Very fast and precise. And this is with the standard blade. Like I mentioned, they have a deep cut blade that cuts even heavier material. Okay. And let's see. I'll tell you in a second. It's called Applique Wonder. And what it is, let me get my spatula here, my $1 million spatula that I lost. Oh my gosh. So this is the perfect size for my applique. So we're going to go over here. And Applique Wonder is a Floriani product. You fuse one side, so fuse there. And the next side, right here, you actually peel it away and it's sticky. So you can stick it right to the fabric where you want it. You don't have to use the this spray, like the KK2000 or things like that. It normally comes off very easily. Must be the altitude here. Attitude. I think the attitude. I agree with that. All right, so we're going to take this here. And so here's my line, and that's exactly the same size as what I scanned. I place it within the line. And you who have done applique, you're thinking, sign me up already. Because don't you hate cutting fabric? This is awesome. I love this. So now, you put that back in there. And in this case, I'm going to go right to my satin stitch. Let's go. And I have perfect applique. Your mouths are all open like this. Wow, right? Is that great or what? Awesome. This is a breakthrough. And now you're going to applique everything. You already are. I mean, there's a trend today in embroidery. It's all about applique. And so that's how my fabric was cut out for people. So let's go ahead and show you a little bit more about what we have to offer here. Because I know you're all going to want this. This machine's so quiet.